Gentlemen, ladies, Sam and Todd here. Welcome back to my channel. Thought I'd do a little bit of something different on the heels of my last video. E.T. phoned home and they found about, I don't know, hundreds of E.T. cartridges in some dump in New Mexico. And I don't know, I saw more and more news on it over the last couple of days because it just happened on the 26th, the actual dig that they found them. And I guess Xbox is going to make a documentary, some Xbox Studios or something to do with that is making a documentary on the whole deal. And I saw a lot of videos about, you know, different E.T. things, and pretty much everybody just hates E.T. for some reason, and I don't understand it because I don't think that it's that bad of a game. I mean, it's Atari. What are you going to do? I mean, the movie E.T. is not really conducive to a video game. I mean, a little alien comes down with some other little aliens, and then a bunch of men show up and try to, you know, find the spaceship, and they take off and leave one of them behind, you know. And then the rest of the movie's about him, you know, running into a little kid and living with him for a while he's trying to make a phone to phone home and get the ship to come back to pick him up, you know. So, I mean, there's really not a lot to it. I mean, I don't know what people thought, what more they thought they could incorporate into the Atari game that they didn't. Yeah, he didn't find the pieces of the phone in a bunch of holes in the ground, but, you know, where are you going to have him hunting around in Elliot's house, you know? I mean, for the pieces, I guess, but there's got to be some kind of danger, you know, some kind of threat, and the men, you know, that are looking for him on the play screens are the threat, you know, and yeah, they carry him back to a lab or something, then you escape miraculously out of the lab or whatever. But basically, it's the plot of the movie. A ship comes down, leaves without him, he's stuck, he's got to put a phone together out of a bunch of miscellaneous shit, and then he phones home, and they come and they pick him up, you know. So, I mean, that's the basic gist of the game, and I didn't think that it was, you know, that bad. I mean, when I was a kid, I really enjoyed it. I mean, most Atari games were so simplistic, graphically as well as gameplay. I mean, most games were based on score, you know, so it's not like the overall objective was some grandiose thing. I mean, I guess, you know, maybe they could have did something with the flying bicycles, but what? You know, what's the real threat? Once the E.T. gets the bikes in the air, I mean, what are you going to do? You know, dodge birds, you know? I mean, really, there's just not a whole lot of things you can do with that game, and I think for what it is, that it wasn't, excuse me, that bad of a game. It's just they maybe were overzealous in the amount of games they created, thinking that it was going to be, you know, this smash phenomenon. I don't understand, you know, this mass, you know, exodus of people taking games back and getting their money back from the retailer. I mean, how is that game any worse than any number of games? I played worse games on the 8-bit Nintendo, you know, like frickin' Kid Nicky and Elevator Action. You know, those games sucked. In my opinion, they're worse than E.T., you know. So, I mean, everybody's got their own opinion. If I'm in the minority saying that I like E.T., you know, then so be it. And that's all I really had to say about that. I wasn't coming on here to rant on people that don't like E.T. If you don't like it, you don't like it. But I just don't see what more they could have did with it to make it a better game that would have, you know, would have had any kind of impact on whether or not there was some kind of collapse of the video game industry, you know, at that time. You know, that Nintendo came back and revitalized or something, you know. I mean, it is what it is. If anything, Atari should have been more about trying to figure out a way to have a lockout on their games so there couldn't be so many pirated companies making software, and that they had more control over their software, then maybe it wouldn't have been such a big deal, you know. So Anyway, I'm done with that that portion of this video, but I thought I'd show you some of my Atari stuff. I don't really do a lot of Atari collecting, and I haven't really done a lot of Atari videos. For a while, I was picking up Atari games here and there at Vintage Stock. For a while, they had brand new ones that were still sealed in the package, and you'll see that I have some of them here that are still sealed because I have loose cart copies. But there are, you know, a couple diamonds in the rough, and then there's some of my favorites, and then I'll show my system. I only have one Atari. My original Atari I sold in a garage sale, much like everybody else at some point that wanted to upgrade to a better game system or whatever, you know, would sell off their older system. And, you know, I sold mine to the neighbor across the way for little or nothing. You know, I think maybe $10 or something, and I probably had like, you know, 100 games for the damn thing. So, back when I very first started getting back into retro collecting, back when I started my channel on YouTube, I started posting videos on my channel on YouTube, because I probably had a channel for a good year before I decided to even post a video. And, that's why my name doesn't have anything to do with video games or anything like that. And my channel name. And so, you know, like my second or third video, I think I came across this at the pawn shop. It was an Atari that they had for sale in a bundle. Atari, bunch of controllers, you know, all the different controllers. I'm not going to show all the different ones. If you want to see the racing controller, the paddle controllers, I'm sure you can find pictures of them on this worldwide thing called the internet. And if you haven't seen them or know what they look like, I'd be surprised anyway. But it was an Atari 2600, and it had a bunch of games and stuff with it, and they wanted like, I think they wanted like $75 for the whole mess, but it came with like, I don't know, 60 or 70 games, and, you know, so I was cool with it, you know. I think I still have the receipt around here somewhere. I think I paid how they had marked it up was $25 for the system and all the controllers, and like 50 cents a game for like, you know, 75 games or something. I don't remember exactly how they charged me. If I run across the receipt here, I'll be able to tell you. But when I got home, I realized it wasn't actually. It is an Atari system, but it's not. It's the one they sold through Sears, and it's a Telegames system, and it's actually the Telegames Heavy Sixer. Heavy Sixer's got the thicker edges, and they're more rounded. It's got the 6 switches on the front. And this one actually says on the sticker on the bottom that it was manufactured for Sears and Roebuck by the Atari Incorporated in Sunnyvale, California. So this was actually made in Sunnyvale, California. It's a nice system. It works great. It's got the nice long cord. I have the little switch box, but I just have one of these little doodads on the end to, you know, go right into your cable ready or whatever. And I tried to dust it off a little bit, but, you know, it says Telegames here instead of Atari. You know, there's the Heavy Sixer Atari model. There's also the 4-switch model, the Vader model, which is the all black one, the slim one, which is the one I actually really had when I very first bought a system when I was like 13 or 14. I was kind of late buying any video game systems because my mom didn't really condone it. She didn't want to buy them for me. She thought it was a waste of money. But she would, you know, she didn't hate them. She just didn't buy it. So I'd always save up my own money or whatever. And the guy I became best friends with through junior high and high school, my 7th grade year, which I would have been 13, 14, I had just gotten an Atari like, I don't know, 6 months before I kind of met this dude. And I kind of met him was through another friend, and he was buying a Nintendo system off a guy at school for like $50, and it came with like, the guy had like 4 games that he gave him with it. I remember he had Super Mario Brothers, Zelda, Ghosts and Goblins, and I can't remember the 4th game, but I know those 3 were 3 of the 4 games. Because I remember playing Super Mario Brothers, then we stuck Zelda in and died almost immediately and didn't know where the sword was, and it was like a big old deal. Excuse me, I'm still got a little bit of a hitch in my throat. I don't want to cough right in your face while I'm doing this, but anyway, here's your standard joystick controller. I've got about 4 or 5 of these. I've got some off-brand joystick controllers. I have paddles. I have racing controllers and the whole deal. And I'm not going to show you every single Atari game I have. There's a lot that I have put up. The ones that I have out are like my favorites. And there were a bunch of doubles with some of the games that I bought in the initial lot of games. Come on. Say hi. Hi, everybody. Now go. So I'm not going to dig all those out because they're in a plastic tub up in my closet, and I just don't want to dig for those. But these are some of the more interesting games, like I said, and some of my favorites that I have out. I have a lot of Activision games like River Raid, Chicken Run, Kaboom, games like that are put up. I was never a huge Kaboom fan. There's a lot of people that love Kaboom, but I never really cared for it that much. And then I'll just go ahead and get started here so we're not just talking and talking and talking without showing nothing. Excuse me while I whip this out, as they would say in Blazing Saddles. I'll show you these box games first. Some of them are still sealed and dusty because I haven't really done anything with them. The first one here, still sealed, is Millipede. Still sealed in the factory seal. Some of these have even the plastic tab on the back that are, ooh, that one's real dusty. Plastic tab on the back. Millipede's a good one. Centipede's another good one. Here's Venture. See, they were only charging $2. It's brand new. The sticker is not underneath the game, or underneath the wrapping. It's on top, so I'm pretty sure this isn't resealed. I don't really know about Venture. I don't think I've ever really played it that much. Millipede. I was trying to look for a game company that made it. Computer graphics of Jerome Dumont. Designed by Dave. It's Atari original, so Atari actually made this one. This one says Exidy. Here's another great title, Galaxian. This one's got the plastic tab on it still sealed. This one says it's made by Midway. Back in the day, Nintendo had real tight rein over the releases that got released on their system, and even when Tengen broke through and started making some games, and then eventually those Bible games and stuff got made. But for the most part, their system was pretty much locked down on people being able to create bootleg carts or random games for it, and they also really they controlled all the manufacturing distribution. That's why all the games the cartridges all looked the same, and the packaging was basically the same and everything. And I think they controlled how many games per company could be released in a year. That's why certain companies like Tecmo, and Capcom and other companies, I can't think offhand, but other companies would create sub companies so they could release more games. It's pretty kind of interesting how they would do that. Here's another still wrapped version, Real Sports Football. This one was created by Atari. original, it says. Real Sports. This game was one of the first 2 games that I ever had. The other game I had was a game called Solaris. That was the first game that I ever bought with my Slim system. I'm not showing you any manuals or anything because all those are sealed, and I'm not going to unseal them tonight. Another one, this game is one of the games created by the guy who created E.T. Evidently, he created 3 different games in his tenure. This game is Yar's Revenge, and it's still sealed. The plastic tab's broken, but it also has the cardboard tab underneath, but you can see where it's been sealed across the back here and on both sides. So I'm pretty sure it's factory sealed still. I don't think I paid more than about $2 a piece for those at Vintage Stock back in the day. You can't find stuff like that at Vintage Stock anymore. They either aren't buying it in, or I don't know. So, especially for $2, you're not going to find it. This game is one of my favorites on the system. I was going to do like a top this or that, but I figured, screw it. I'll just show and I'll say what some of my more favorite versions are. This one's always been one of my favorites, and that is the game Joust. Now, this one is not sealed, so I will take it out. It's got all the inserts. Here's the cart. It's nice and shiny still. Still got a nice dark black. It's not scratched on the back. Evidently, it didn't get thrown in and out of the system too much. Label's still pretty vibrant. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's in good shape. Whoever's this was kept it in the box, it looks like. Let me see what this is. Oh, Atari poster of some kind. Atari 2600 and 5200 stuff. Never had a 5200, never had a 7800, and I don't really want one. So the 2600 is the one I have the nostalgia for, and it's the one that I'm gonna, live and die with probably. There's the Vader model of the system right there, all black with the orange and the 4 switches. There's the wireless controllers and the trackball. I never had the trackball. It'd be nice to have one, but they don't always work. Nowadays, but sometimes you got to take that stuff apart and clean it or whatever. But the box is uncrushed. I mean, it's still in pretty good shape. You can tell where it was glued, originally in 3 spots. Get in there. I have a habit of sitting and dicking with putting stuff back in the box during the video, which I should just give up and move on to the next thing. But Joust is one of my favorites. Get back in there. A bold move in arcade games, fast-paced and challenging. Climb into a suit of armor and grab your lance. You are entering the medieval world of the Joust. 4 levels of difficulty. I'd like to get a sealed version of Joust. I actually think at one point I looked into it, but I do have the complete in box version. It's kind of like this game here is another one. Yeah, I have it complete in box. This is another one I really enjoy. Berserk. It's got the cardboard tab that's not punched out, so I'm going to leave it the way it is. This person opened the bottom of the box, which is probably the right move considering the tab is hooked to the top of the box. It makes it a little hard to get the game out though. Looks like they... How did they get it over there? Looks like they stretched the box to get it out of there. There we go. Berserk's got green label. It looks nice. Like I said, it's not really scratched up that much. The box is in okay shape. You can tell this flap's been worked pretty good, taking the game in and out of it. Atari Force comic book by DC. comics here. You don't get comic books. Shit, you don't even get manuals anymore. Pretty cool. And it's got the catalog. These catalogs came with a lot of stuff. I think even in the videos I saw with some of the shit they were digging up with the E.T., there was catalogs and some of the stuff that dudes were holding that they pulled out of there, out of the hole. This game's got a 11-page instruction booklet, and it tells you the game selecting, what game, difficulty or whatever you pick, and how it, what's enacted given each level you pick, like no evil auto, rebound, invincible evil auto, bonus life every 1,000 points, bonus life every 2,000 points. That's kind of cool. Some games are really difficult. You don't know what you're even doing. Like I learned just today, watching some guy do an E.T. playthrough of all things. I have an E.T. thing playthrough as well, and I know how to beat the game, but I did not know what a couple of the items, the little icons at the top meant, and I found out today that the one that looks like a dot in the middle of a circle, if you have Reese's Pieces that you picked up, if you go and you raise your neck up on that symbol, you get your life filled back up. And I never knew that in all these years. I never cared enough, I guess, to really look into it per se, but now that I know that, that's something I'll always remember, because it was one of the things that, I think I had to figure out a lot of it in order to be able to beat it in the first place. Here's another one. This is not necessarily a favorite of mine, but it's kind of a mainstay of the system. This is the Telegames version. This game was going for $30 when it was sold brand new, because it still has a price tag on it. Excuse me, this is a Telegames version, which is the Sears version of the game. It's Space Invaders, and this one also has the nice, difficulty thing on the back of the box showing, if you enable what you get and things like that. This has the instruction book, a skinny mini instruction book. It says 112 games. Those are just the different difficulties and what have you. And it is the Sears Telegames model of the game, and the label's in pretty good shape. So those are all the games that I have in the box. I don't have a lot. There are a few that I would like to get in the box, but I'm not gonna sweat it. I'm not going to go actively looking for them. So anyway, we'll set these to the side, and then we'll roll through some randos here. Let's see. I got on a kick where I was buying some movie-based... Here's Solaris. This is not my original Solaris cart, but it is Solaris, and it's in that same maroon label. This is kind of when they, came out with Atari, tried to make the slim version and kind of reinvent itself. So, Solaris. Here's another version of Joust. So I don't probably usually take the one out of the box. I usually just play this one. We've got some games that are based on a couple of movies. Let's see. Kung Fu Master. The label's not great on this, but Kung Fu Master is also the well-known game on the Nintendo, Kung Fu. It's an Activision game. I don't remember. I think I paid a few bucks for that. This was one of my favorites when I had my Atari, Decathlon. The reason why is it took a long time to play through, because there were 10 events you could play, and you had to play them all in order to get your final score. So it took a while to play through. It was fun. So Decathlon was one of my more favorite games. Phoenix. Phoenix is an arcade game I remember, and that's the main reason why I bought the cart. I can't picture it in my head. I always loved the artwork they put on the games. It's always so much more imaginative and awesome looking than the game graphics ever looked. Here's one of those Activision games. The labels always look really shitty on all these Activision games I have. They're kind of tore up and speckled and stuff. It's just the way they were when I got them from the pawn. You know, who knows where they got their games. But Sequest. Here's another one. River Raid. Freeway. You know, those are just some of the more random ones. Regular old football. You know, nothing fancy. I'm showing the ones I don't really care that much about real quick. Here's a Galaxian that's not in the box. That's why I don't take the one out that's shrink wrapped. Telegames, Gunslinger, target shooting. As somebody wrote on this game with a marker. I'm just kind of breezing through some of these because there's some of my more favorite ones are down in here. Here we got Strawberry Shortcake's musical matchup. My sister was always into Strawberry Shortcake. Here's one that I really like. Everybody kind of loves this game. Super Breakout. It's kind of and Breakout. Those kind of precursors to Arkanoid and some games along those lines. We have Jungle Hunt. A lot of people like Jungle Hunt. I like Jungle Hunt. Now I'm getting down to the ones that I really, really enjoy. We'll set the movie ones to the side for a minute. Okay. Sorry. We've got Popeye. Popeye is cool. This is one of my more favorite ones. Labels are kind of crap on these, but you know, it's okay. Cubert, another awesome game. So far out of the ones I've showed you, my more favorite is Joust and Berserk. Here's a Nintendo property on the Atari 26. We have Mario Brothers on the 2600. It actually says Mario Brothers by Nintendo on it. Here's another one of my favorites, and as you know, my very first video that I ever did was about my little mini console, and that's Frogger. Frogger's another favorite of mine. So Frogger, Joust, and Berserk. Let's see here. We have a game called Stargate. It's not Stargate with Kurt Russell and James Spader, just a game called Stargate. So I'm going to try to weasel some of these back into the box here. And then we'll get to the ones that I really are in the best shape and some of my more favorites, or just, if they're not my favorites to play, they're my favorites for picking when I picked them up and things like that. We've got a couple here. I remember playing this game a lot at a friend's house when I was in elementary school, and that is Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle. This is made by Coleco. What are you doing? Getting into stuff? We'll save that one for a minute. And, well, we might as well go ahead and show some of these. Or show these. This is a game based on a well, I guess it's a movie. I'm not going to do the movie ones yet, but here we have another one. This one cost me a few bucks. It's Spider-Man on the 2600. I think I paid like $8 or $9 for that one loose cart, because it's not as easy to get a hold of. around here anyway. You know, I prefer, like I said, finding them in the wild to looking on the internet for them. Played a lot of Atari when I was a kid. I mean, my grandmother had an Atari. One of my aunts had an Atari. And I used to play them all the time. Oh, here we go. This is my box of my goodies, my favorites. Let's see, we have here's regular Breakout. Pole Position. All these have the end labels too. Since we're talking about it, we have E.T. Let's see. Pitfall. And Pitfall 2. I paid some money for Pitfall 2. I think around $10. I also have another one in here that I know I paid around $10 for. Let's see. Maze Craze. I know I got about 4 or 5 of these Maze Crazes when I bought the whole set. This one's probably in the best shape out of all of them. A game of cops and robbers. Compatible with joystick controllers. We have Canyon Bomber. Alright. Indy 500. Now, I don't see it here. Yeah, there it is. A lot of times Atari, the end labels will even be different colors on some of the same games. Like here I have, this is another Sears version, Space Invaders. I think the end label's the same color. Let's see here. Oh, I just keep looking because I'm trying not to give away my favorites right off the bat. Night Driver, you use the paddles for this. Battlezone. Battlezone was a big arcade. Great. What are you doing? Video Olympics. Ooh. Surround. Who even knows what this is? It looks like 2 guys sitting at computer banks. Boy, that looks exciting. Golf. Othello. Okay. Ooh, here's a Berserk, another Berserk. This is a Telegames Berserk. All right. Ooh. I'm getting choosy now. Street Racer paddle controllers. Warlords. There was just a ton. I think the first time I did my Atari deal, I didn't really discuss. I'm not going into in-depth on most of those because I either don't really remember them real great or, you know, I might have not even played them. I'm pretty sure I played everything at one point, but Demons to Diamonds paddle control game. The label's a little ripped on that one. That one might be worth looking into getting another copy of. Okay. I only have a couple that I consider really kind of rare. And not even that rare. I have the 2 of the 3 Sword Quest games. Of course, I don't have Water World. I have Fire World and Earth World. And I love the story behind those more than the games themselves. here's one that I never really dug this game on the home console, and that's Pac-Man. It always looked so not like the arcade, and that you know, that sound when he would like pick up, like, you know, the ghosts when he would eat the power pellet and stuff. Never a big fan. I think this was a better version, and that's Miss Pac-Man. This is a good one in my opinion. Still not in my favorites realm. Right now we're hovering with those three that I mentioned in the favorites realm. Here's my copy of Millipede that's not in the deal. Good label, nice and bright. Please don't knock all these carts over, Dia. Okay, so we're getting down to the ones that I either really remember when I was a kid having and really loved, or, well, basically that's it. Here's the Yard's Revenge out of the box. Like I said, a lot of these that I still have sealed. I think I might even have Venture around here somewhere. This one I remember paying like $10 for. They considered, well, I'll put it with the movie titles. Sorry, we'll come back to it in a second. Here's a Centipede. Now, this one's one of my favorites. Centipede, I always liked Centipede more than Millipede. I just did. What are you doing? Crazy? So Centipede, Berserk, Joust, Super Breakout, Solaris, Kung Fu Master. Those were all awesome games. I don't know that I'd put Kung Fu Master or Solaris necessarily in my favorites. Here's another one. You can't deny this game. It's one of my favorites. Combat. This is the cleanest copy of Combat I've ever found. So it's the reason why I'm really kind of proud of it. The label's not really scratched up, and it's nice and bright, and the end label's all stuck down and looks nice. A game called, I don't remember this game. Well, yeah, I do. Kangaroo. It looks like you're boxing a monkey or something on the label. Kangaroo. Okay, now here's the goodies. This game I loved as a kid, real simple. Haunted house. There's like 3 floors to this haunted house, and there's a bat and a spider, and I think something else that come kind of looking for you, and you basically just look like a big circle with eyes in the middle of it, because that's supposed to be like your flashlight or whatever. You're basically hunting around for pieces of the key. I think 2 or 3 pieces of a key to get out the front door of the haunted house. And it's not real hard. It's fun. The label actually does show a spider and a bat on it, so maybe those are your 2 main protagonists. But Haunted House is one of my favorites. Combat, Centipede. Not going to mention them again. This one was never a huge favorite, but I have a lot of memory of it, and that is Defender. This is the Sears Telegames version of Defender. I never really understood Defender, but I played quite a bit of it. This is another one that I don't have a huge affinity for, but the label is just so damn good shape on it. And I did play it, and that's Crystal Castles. Like I said, the label's in great shape on this one. So I keep it in this box. These are the ones that I really think are in the best shape and are more of my favorite games. This one I had as a kid, and I played the shit out of it, and that is Missile Command. Missile Command, I can still stick Missile Command in at any time and enjoy it. It's one of my favorites. I had to do a top 5, I'll do it here at the end. Here's another one of my favorites. This was definitely a favorite at the arcade, and I didn't even really know they had made it for the Atari until I started kind of recollecting games as an adult, and that's Moon Patrol. Moon Patrol, and it's pretty good likeness of Moon Patrol on the Atari 2600. This is one of my favorites as well. Dig Dug. Dig Dug. I love playing Dig Dug at the arcade. It's one of my favorites to waste time on. If they have a Dig Dug machine, they used to have a Dig Dug machine at the movie theater where I went when I was like 18 or 19, and it was good to kill a few minutes before the show or even after the show to play a game of Dig Dug. And I've always loved it. And I'll leave it to the side because it's probably in my top 5. This is another one this one may be, I hasten to say, but it may be my favorite game ever made for the Atari. I think it is, and that is Asteroids. I rolled the score on Asteroids on the Atari. I mean, I could sit and play it for like 3 or 4 hours straight until my legs fell asleep, just shooting frickin' asteroids. I love Asteroids. It's such a time waste, but it may be my favorite game ever. Here are 2 more Nintendo properties that are on the 2600. You may be able to guess what they are, but these are in great shape as far as labels and stuff go for what they are, and that is Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong. I love Donkey Kong. I like the character of Donkey Kong as well. I have a plush Donkey Kong. I also have a little Donkey Kong figurine. He's still kind of considered a bad guy on like the Mario Kart games and stuff, which I think is kind of funny considering, he's got Donkey Kong Country and, he's kind of been heroed up a little bit, but they still kind of consider him a bad dude on some games, and I just think it's funny. It seems like on Mario Kart he gets lumped in with the bad guys for some reason. And I use a little spit to wipe the label off on this one. This one would be his son's game, Donkey Kong Jr. Now, at the arcade, I love Donkey Kong Jr. I don't recall Donkey Kong Jr. on the... I'm blurring it with the arcade game on the 2600 in my head. So, that's all the good games. Now, I'm going to show you the games that I have that are movie-related titles. And then we'll get out of here. I know this video's run long. I hope the camera's still running. I'm going to check it with a little pocket mirror. Yep, we're still running. I love my little flip cam that I used to have because you could turn the window and you could tell when it was running. Okay, so we're down to it here. I love Donkey Kong, but it's not one of my favorites. It never has been one of my favorite games. Well, at the arcade it is. I'm playing it on the 8-bit Nintendo. I love playing Donkey Kong, and at the arcade I do, but on the Atari, it's just not one of my... The ones on the Atari that I love are really close to the arcade, and they're just, mindless entertainment, I guess. So anyway, we're going to show the final stretch here, and these are the games that are based on movie titles. We'll start with the... third game created by the guy who made E.T., and that is Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is one of the first games that they made that didn't really have a score element to it. It was more about objective, and I think that's pretty cool. I've never really been able to figure it out. I'm sure I could get a walkthrough. But, I just don't like to sink a lot of time into Atari games. I like to stick them in, kind of look at the novelty of them, and that's about it. Unless they're games like Asteroids or Missile Command or Dig Dug, something I can really, just dig into. Here's another game. This one they say is kind of loosely based on the movie franchise, but I'm not necessarily sure. I think I paid like $9 or $10 for this one, and that is Superman on the 2600. Label is intact on both the end and on the front, so I was kind of cool to find those. a lot of these games I either bought loose at vintage stock or boxed, and if I didn't get them with my initial purchase of the system, which you can go back and watch that video, it's way back in the archives. It's like my second or third video I ever made, and I'm pretty sure it's still up. The audio price sucks ass because I was using a webcam with a really crappy mic on it that would peak out. But it does show the whole mess of games and stuff laid out. And let's move on to the next one. This game was based on the movie of the same name, MASH, 20th Century Fox, Games of the Century, MASH. You know, it's loosely based on the movie MASH. And same thing with this one, loosely based on the movie. It's also 20th Century Fox one. This one's kind of unique because the 20th Century Fox logo is actually imprinted into the plastic on the back of it, which I find kind of unique. Here's another one. 4 levels of play, came out in 1982. Printed label in Taiwan. Why would they print the label in Taiwan? Who knows? Anyway, Alien. Based on the Alien franchise, the original movie. It looks like maybe you're supposed to be in the air ducts, you know, chasing it with a flamethrower or something. And there's the little face hugger and the big alien, and I guess you're supposed to be... I'm guessing you're supposed to be Tom Skerritt's character when he goes into the air ducts and stuff looking for it with the flamethrower. You're not even Ripley, I don't think. Okay, then we have another one based on the movie. I kind of found this one and didn't ever know it existed, and it caught me off guard. I did do a gameplay on this as well at some point. It's still posted on my site somewhere, and that's Gremlins. It's kind of a lot like, from what I remember, it was kind of a Space Invaders-y kind of thing, or something like that. Gremlins. I remember the movie Gremlins when I was a kid. Kind of freaked me out. I was still fairly young when it came out, I think. What's the date on that? 84. I would have been 8 or 9. Let's see. Okay, I have 3 based on the Star Wars franchise here. I don't have the one I really want, and I've never ran across it. I did run across it, but it was for the ColecoVision, and I think I sent it to a buddy of mine on a trade or something here on YouTube. But the first one is Empire Strikes Back, Parker Brothers title. Don't ask me why Parker Brothers did the Star Wars games, but 20th Century Fox, who's the company that released the Star Wars movies, didn't do the Star Wars games. Here's Star Wars Return of the Jedi Death Star battle. I think that's the Death Star, I guess going inside the Death Star. The one I don't have that I really want is Star Wars the arcade game for the 2600. And then I have one here called Star Wars Jedi Arena, which I don't really know what it's about. And then I have my 2 games that I've consider my most rare Atari games, and I've talked them up a couple different times at different points over the years, so you may know that I already own them, but I found these at the Vintage Stock and Lee's Summit when they very first opened, probably about 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and they had them just sitting on the shelf with their other Atari games, and they only wanted $2 a piece for them, and I picked them up, and I know I could get way more than $2 a piece for them online. That was before I think they really did a lot of research, but we have the 2 horror video games based on the movie franchises of Halloween and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, the Halloween game you play is Jamie Lee Curtis's character, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre you play as Leatherface. trying to kill people with a chainsaw. So it's a little more notorious than Halloween because of that. Those aren't really the most stellar games, but because of their rarity and the fact that I found them for $2 a piece, they're high on my list of exciting finds. So is Alien. Any of those movie titles, I really am kind of psyched that I have them. Spider-Man is not considered a movie title. It did not come out at the time the Spider-Man movies were out. Unlike Superman, which did come out during the run of the Chris Reeve Superman flicks. So I guess if I had to pick a top 5 here out of this mess, I would choose probably, well, I already said Joust. I don't have Joust out. But Joust, Dig Dug, Missile Command, probably Frogger, and I can't do a top 5 because I'm already past 5. Centipede, but then my favorite of all time is probably Asteroids, and I probably have about 4 or 5 of these cartridges. This one's probably just in the best shape. So anyway, that's some Atari games. None of them lived up to the arcade versions. I remember the Asteroids of the arcade having the vectorized graphics, and the Space Invaders having the tinted overlays on the screen, and the sound effects from the arcade are just so ingrained in my head. The sound of firing the thing on Space Invaders, and the movement of the guys, and same thing with Dig Dug. I mean, all the sounds and everything are just ingrained into my head. Now, I enjoy Frogger more at home than like playing it at the arcade. But Dig Dug, I could play all day long at the arcade. It's probably one of the few games that I wouldn't mind having an arcade cabinet. But arcade cabinets, I think, can sometimes be a little overrated. I mean, it's one game. I mean, I know guys have made like put computers inside and made cabinets that, have emulators that run MAME and, have hundreds of games on them and stuff. And that's cool. I could see going that route. But, an arcade cabinets take up a lot of room, and they got a lot of components to them. And if something goes wrong with them, that's the game. That's it. So, the only game I've ever shown interest in wanting an arcade cabinet of was and is Ye Are Kung Fu. And I almost bought one at one point, but I've told that story. It was not good time for me to try to go connect with the guy to buy it. And then by the time I thought it was a good time, he had already sold it. So, but I could see going the route of buying a pinball machine or something to that effect. I'm not picky about the type of pinball machine. There are a couple that I have that are stuck in my brain from when I was a kid. The main one is the Twilight Zone pinball machine. There's a lot of components to it, but I remember playing that at the local convenience store so much, and the multi-tiered levels and stuff on it, and the little game puzzles and stuff you would unlock. The little dot matrix animations and things on the screen, and they had the Rod Serling voice on it and everything. It just was really cool. So that's kind of my nostalgia for the Atari. I don't talk about it a lot because I really don't play it that much. I get excited when I find cartridges and stuff for it that I don't have that are cheap. Or every once in a while I'll dust it off and pull it out and show it off to people, show off the games, or show off the games by playing them with some friends or relatives or something. But to be honest, my real nostalgia for game systems starts with the 8-bit Nintendo. So like I said, a lot of these games I had when I was a kid, but only a few of them I really loved. You know, and I mentioned them. You know, here's another one, Haunted House. I played a lot. But, you know, mainly the ones I just mentioned as being my favorites were the ones I played all the time. So, anyway, I'm going to get out of here. Thanks for coming by, Atari lovers, and listening to my little E.T. rant at the beginning and sticking through all this. And I'm going to sign off, and we'll talk to you later. And I almost tipped the camera over. All right. See ya. Next video.